Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben. Today I bring you more than just the average YouTube video. I bring you what is the beginning of an extended public service announcement. A series of videos explaining the flaws and advantages of all the major alien species that threaten the future of humanity. After all, hatred for and unity against aliens should be what brings all humans together. No matter what nationality, whether American, Chinese, or fine, even Canadian, and no matter what race, whether black, white, or vegan, we should all stand in unity against the Xeno scum. So first we venture into the 40K universe to cover the TYRANIDS, the vile aliens that haunt the Imperium of Man. Before we begin, I just want to remind you that if you want to be part of this educational series, then hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Hitting the subscribe button is like spearing an Ewok. It's not easy, but it's necessary to defend humankind, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, we start the video by covering the advantages of the TYRANIDS. The first thing you have to know about the TYRANIDS is that they have a singular goal. That goal is to perpetuate and expand their species. They invade a planet and then absorb all of that planet's life. The TYRANIDS are glorified bugs. They don't understand concepts concerned with territorial conquest or spreading ideology. And so they don't have to waste their time on those complicated things and thus can focus all of their energy on devouring everything. All of their ships, weapons, and warriors are all devoted to this one cause. The next thing you have to know is that the TYRANIDS are all connected through a hive mind, which helps to keep their ranks focused on buying iPhones. Sorry, wrong species. Focused on their one goal of reproduction, TYRANIDS are psychically reactive and can communicate through the hive mind. This makes Tyranid communication largely unbeatable. It's instantaneous and eliminates the difficulties of the distance across space. The hive mind also ensures unity among the ranks and organization on the battlefield. This leads to their next advantage, which is their ability to act as a superorganism, rather than a horde of individual Xenos. Through their psychic bond known as the synapse, the TYRANIDS think and act as a single massive organism. Their coordination across space-time makes them insanely powerful. Despite having billions of organisms in their ranks, the TYRANIDS exercise complete control over their army and superior organization. This is especially important for the TYRANIDS as those lower in their ranks have little intelligence and are all instinct and would be hard to control otherwise. The TYRANIDS' Hive Fleets are not your typical Space Navy fleets, even when compared to other Xeno fleets. A Hive Fleet is composed of biological starships, aka living ships grown from organic biomatter harvested from the planets they consume. Their ships are built for gathering raw materials and biomass necessary for the expansion and development of their species. The TYRANIDS are definitely not your typical space navy, even when compared to other Xeno space navies. But make no mistake, they are catastrophically dangerous. Their bioships, which form the core of their fleets, are biofactories from which swarms upon swarms of Tyranid bioforms are produced. Each ship can create millions of Tyranid organisms specially designed to be adapted to the world they are attacking at any given time. Their ships are also outfitted with pyroacid batteries, bioplasma spines, and gigantic claws that make them fearsome in combat. By now, you probably have picked up on this advantage already. Even in a 40K universe where wars of attrition are the reality for just about everyone, and in which even humans fight with great numbers, the TYRANIDS' strength in numbers is supreme. They have an unlimited army and can create as many soldiers as necessary. Soldiers that, as mentioned before, can be genetically engineered for the environment they're going into. Even if a primary Tyranid invasion is stopped, a second, third, fourth wave and beyond will be coming shortly, better adapted to destroy their prey. Trying to thwart the TYRANIDS is like arguing with your girlfriend. Every minor victory you gain contributes to your eventual loss. If it isn't clear already, the TYRANIDS are not an army rife with advanced mechanical engineering that allows them to create powerful machines for decimating their enemies in space. No, instead, everything that makes up the Tyranid army has a bioconstruct nature, from their ships to their weapons, all of which are just organic extensions of the Tyranids themselves. The Tyranids don't worry much about running out of any specific resource. The only resource they need is biomatter, life to consume. The Tyranids' ability to create organic weapons, soldiers, supplies, and ships means that, as we've alluded to already, they can produce endless amounts of these things specialized for whatever environment they're working in. In other words, they're always adapted to destroy their enemies with efficiency. This has been hinted at already, but specialization isn't just limited to their weapons and ships. The Tyranids themselves have a variety of organisms grown to specialize in certain areas. For example, there's Hive Tyrants, large, strong Tyranids that serve as leaders of Tyranid swarms, and as synaptic, meaning psychic here, conduits for less complex Tyranid organisms. There's Lictors, who are bred for their stealth abilities, and there are Rippers, which are small, snake-like Tyranids that consume biomatter on the battlefield for the Hive ships to absorb. And these are just a few examples of the different special breeds of Tyranids. Obviously, in order to create all of the specialization that the Tyranids have, they have to have a way of learning and absorbing the traits of their prey. Thus, they have developed complex methods for transferring genetic traits from their victims back to the Hive Mind. Every time they conquer a world, they become smarter and more powerful, proving the old adage, whatever doesn't kill you only makes you a Tyranid. The shadow in the warp is a psychic signal that the Tyranids send out that blankets entire star systems, disrupting warp travel and communication. The psychic static of the shadow envelops worlds and sends the life below into terror in the knowledge that a Tyranid invasion is on the horizon. Entire populations descend into despair before the Tyranids even touch down on their planet. For psychic Xenos, the effects are even worse, as the sound of billions of Tyranid thoughts invade their minds and drive them insane. The shadow is devastating to mankind, as it disrupts their only means of communication through the warp, navigators and astropaths, leaving human planets isolated and unable to call for help at the onset of Tyranid invasion. It is known throughout the galaxy that once the shadow falls, it's already too late. So then the Tyranids are one of the most powerful Xeno forces in all of Xenodom. But what of their flaws? Do they have any? Well, yes. Yes, they do. As much as the Hive Mind can be a boon to their success, it is also an obstacle to it. All Tyranids operate towards one goal and know their purpose towards advancing that goal. But there's not much to be said for the Tyranids' ability to improvise if something goes wrong or something weird happens in the course of invasion. Most Tyranid organisms are simple creatures that can't think for themselves and don't have much intelligence at all. So while the Tyranids benefit from thinking together, they also have little ability to innovate on their own. They know how to create everything they need from biomatter and adapt their creations for specific scenarios and circumstances. But if things don't go as planned, it's unlikely that individual Tyranids will know what to do. The Hive Tyrants keep the more simple Tyranid organisms operating in perfect unison through psychic power. But if their synaptic web is broken, there could be chaos, with the lower organisms reverting to instinctual animalistic behavior. The Tyranids attempt to account for this by having multiple commanders across all levels. But still, there is a certain fragility to their hierarchy. Norn-Queens are highly intelligent female Tyranids that are responsible for all Tyranid reproduction, aka the perpetuation of their race. They are the ones who direct evolutionary adaptation of Tyranid offspring so that Tyranids adapt to new environments and places. Norn-Queens are well protected as they live in chambers within the massive hive ships, consuming genetic materials and producing millions of bioforms asexually. Norn-Queens are the only way by which Tyranids can reproduce, and thus are another point of Tyranid fragility, as if the Norn-Queens are accessed and destroyed, Tyranid life cannot continue. The Narval is a small Tyranid bioship that grants the Tyranids the capability of interstellar FTL travel outside of the warp. As we mentioned, a huge advantage, but the ship itself is highly flawed. The Narval is almost entirely defenseless and boasts almost no weaponry. Additionally, its space warp technology cannot be used in close proximity to strong gravitational forces, and as such cannot be employed on final approach into star systems, let alone within a planetary atmosphere. Due to this, Hive Fleets are often forced to use more conventional propulsion travel when nearing their destinations, thus extending their travel time by years or even decades. There simply isn't much to be said for Tyranid tactics. They do engage in some battlefield strategy. One tactic of theirs is to hide aboard a space hulk and wait for the Imperial Navy to discover it, and when they do, the Tyranids aboard will kill the exploration crew and implant the one survivor with their virus that will lead them to breed Tyranid hybrids. But in general, the only Tyranid battle plan is overwhelm the enemy. And there's good reason they have no real tactics. They don't much need them. They're almost always successful in slaughtering their targets. That said, outthinking, outmaneuvering, and outplanning the Tyranids is a way to overcome their onslaught. Finally, we've discussed how the Tyranids' bioconstruction is an advantage that helps to make them one of the most deadly alien species. And not having to do any sort of mechanical engineering saves them from needing to gather and produce all sorts of resources. Additionally, they can adapt to any sort of mechanical creation that their enemies come up with. This all said, though they can copy genetic traits of their enemies and adapt their bioconstructs for specialization, they can't copy the technology of their enemies. Eventually, mechanical technology could outpace their biotech. Their foes could build a weapon so powerful and intuitive that it overcomes the Tyranid adaptation advantage. Okay, my friends, it's time to vote. Click right up there to rate the Tyranids on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best / still absolutely disgusting alien. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and let me know in the comments what other aliens we should do in this series and what you think of the Tyranids. For now, my name is American Ben, and I'll catch you next time. Generation Films, peace.